I'm Aaron.
And I'm Eugene.
And we're Melon Math. Today we are going to review multiplying and dividing fractions, and also learn about how to solve those problems faster. One method. This is another video under Unit 1 before starting 6th grade math, and the third theory video of it. Let's start. So if you had 1/2 times 3/4, what would you do?
So I'll just do 1 times 3 and 2 times 4.
So basically just multiply the numerators.
Yep.
And then multiply the denominators, right?
Yeah.
Respectively.
Yeah.
And then the answer of this one would be 1 times 3 is 3, and then 2 times 4 is 8. So 3/8, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can't simplify that, so we're done, right?
Yeah.
So doing this is perfectly fine, and this is how you would solve this problem, right? Take away from it, you would just do this problem like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in other cases, like in maybe 2/3 times 9/10, when you multiply those, you can do something. And I'll show you how to kind of solve the problem faster. So in this case also, you would just multiply the numerators and denominators respectively, right?
Yeah.
So 2 times 9 over 3 times 10. And then 2 times 9 is
18.
And then 3 times 10 is
30.
30. And then we can simplify this, right?
Right.
So we can divide the numerator and denominator by the same thing, and it'll keep the fraction the same.
Yeah, proportionate.
Mm-hmm. So how would you do this one?
So I'll just do 18 divided by 6 and 30 divided by 6 because they're both divisible by 6.
Right. And 18 divided by 6 is
3.
3. And then 30 divided by 6 is
5.
5. So now we're done. I don't know about you, but in some cases, not this case because this is in our times tables, right?
Mm-hmm.
With greater numbers in the numerator and denominators, sometimes I'm not sure if I can simplify, or I would have to test it out, right? And so there's a way to do it faster and not have to simplify after, like we did here. And I will show you that today. Sounds good?
Yes.
Okay, so if we redo this question, 2 times 3 times 9 times 10. I'm just going to copy this down because those are the steps. And in real life, you would just do this step inside your head, right? You would just have it in your head.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just write it down. So we know that when we multiply, order doesn't matter, right?
Right. Like addition.
Yeah. So 9 times 2 is the same thing as 2 times 9.
Mm-hmm.
So we can rearrange some things in this case, right? And I'll do 2 times 9 and switch the 3 and the 10. So 10 times 3. And that would equal the same thing, right?
Right.
And then I would do this. Cross, cross. 5, 1. Cross, cross. 3, 1. A lot easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'll explain it to you, how this works. So when we have, let's say, 2/10, right?
Right.
We could just see this and go, oh, that's 1/5, right?
Right.
Like what we did here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the same thing. We see 2/10 and 9/3. And and this right here is equal to 2/10 times 9/3, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we essentially just cross it out and then make it 1/5. So we're just simplifying before we multiply,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is a lot easier. And then 9/3, we already know that 3 goes into 9 3 times, right?
Right.
And for 9/3, we already know that 3 goes into 9 3 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can cross this out, and we know that this is equal to 3/1, or just 3.
Right.
So we do that before we multiply, and that makes it easier. Especially when you multiply with greater numbers or multiply multiple fractions at a time. Let's test that out. So, fractions. Let's say we have 5/7 times 1/3 times 9/10 times 14/15. How would we do this? So this would essentially always be the numerator times the denominator. So all the numerators multiply by each other and the denominators multiply by each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be 5 times 1 times 9 times 14 over 7 times 3 times 10 times 15. So we could simplify this, right? Using the method that I showed you.
Mm-hmm.
And we could cross things out. So what do you see here that we can cross out and simplify?
I see that 7 and 14 can be divided.
Mm-hmm. Both by 7, right?
Yeah.
So 7 divided by 7 is
1.
1. And 14 divided by 7 is
2.
2. Good job. And what other numbers do you see?
I see 3 and 9 are divisible by 3.
3. So 3 divided by 3 is
1.
1. And 9 divided by 3 is
3.
right. And then what do you see here?
I can do 5 and 10 or 15, but I'll do it with 15. So 5 and 15 are both divisible by 5.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 divided by 5 is 1.
1.
And 15 divided by 5 is 3.
3. That's right. I see one more here. Or I see 2 more, actually.
Yeah. Because we already changed it, changed 9 into 3 and 15 into 3, we can do 3 and 3.
Because that equals 1, right?
Yeah.
And anything times 1 equals
Itself.
itself. So we'll cancel out the 3's. Wait, I'll do it in a better color. Pink. So we're going to cancel out the 3's. And then what do we have?
The last thing we have left is 10 and 2. And both of those are divisible by 2.
So 10 divided by 2 is
5.
And then 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now I'm just going to rewrite this because it looks a bit messy right now. So 1 times 1 is just 1. And then everything's canceled out. So we have 1 left on the numerator, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have 1 and 1 and then 3. 3's were canceled, right? So they're equal to 1.
Yeah.
And then we have 1 left.
Right.
So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is
1.
1. So it would just equal 1. And then This one, 1 times 1 times 5. And
Time-
3's were
yeah.
canceled, so this would equal 1. 1 times 1 times 5 times 1 is 5.
Yeah.
So all of this would equal to 1/5.
Mhm.
And if we had to multiply all of these and then simplify after, it would have been a lot harder, right?
Right.
So it's good to just cancel out. And if you're asking why we could multiply again or cross out again after we cross this out, it kind of looks messy right now, so I'll rewrite it. 5 times 1 times 9 times 14, and then 7 times 3 times 10 times 15, right? So first we did 7 times 14, and that was 2, right?
Mhm.
And I'll actually write this down on the side. And then we did 9 and 3, right?
Mhm.
So I'll write that down. And then what did we do? We did 5 and 15. And then we have 1 and 10 left, right?
Mhm.
And we simplified all of these too. 14 over 7 being 2.
Mhm.
And then 9 over 3 being 3. 5 over 15 being 1/3. And then 1 over 10 being 10. So when we write all of these down like this, like when we simplify, we just write the remainders of everything that we have left. It looks exactly the same because we can rearrange multiplied numbers, right?
Mhm.
So 1 times 1 times 3 times 2, and then 1 times 1 times 10 times 3. We have 10 and 3 right here, 10 and 3 right here, and then 3 and 2 right here, 3 times 2 right here. And then the 1s and 1s. So they're exactly the same. And that tells us a lot because it tells us now we can simplify even further, right?
Mhm.
3 and 3 equal 1, and then 2 and 10 are both divisible by 2, so it leaves us with 1/5. So do you kind of get how this works?
Mhm.
Great. Now we're going to talk about doing this with dividing. And it's the same thing. So let's look at 3/4 divided by 1/6. What would you do?
I would first flip the 1 over 6 and turn it into 6 over 1.
Okay.
And
so
then
keep the 3/4.
yeah. And then multiply them.
Okay, that's exactly right. You flip the second one and then you multiply, right?
Mhm.
And when you look at this, what can you see? Or what do you think I'm going to ask you to do now?
Simplify them.
You're right. How can we simplify them?
So 4 and 6, you can see, are both divisible by 2.
So 4 divided by 2 is,
2.
and then 6 divided by 2 is,
3.
so it would actually be 3 times 3 over 2, right? Because 2 times 1 is 2.
Mhm.
3 times 3 is,
9.
so it'd be 9 over 2, right?
Mhm.
And we're done here because you know how I feel about turning improper fractions into mixed numbers.
We don't use them later on, right?
Yeah, we don't use mixed numbers, so we're going to leave it at that. Now we are going to, so going back, you can see how we can use the crossing out trick on dividing fractions as well. Now we are going to do 1/2 divided by 1/6 divided by 1/12. A little bit harder. I wanted to just try this one last time. How would you do this one?
So I would flip 1/6 and 1/12 into 6/1 and 12/1.
Like this?
Yep.
And then you would,
Multiply them.
right. And we can simplify, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what would you do here?
Okay, so 6 and 12 can both be divided by 2. So which one should I do?
Actually, we were going to talk about this. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And we can test it out right now. So let's do 6 and 2 first. So 6 and 2 are both divisible by 2, like you said. 6 divided by 2 is
3.
And 2 divided by 2 is
6.
And 2 divided by 2 is
1.
So we would do 3 times 12, which is 36, and over 1, which is just 36. Now let's do it with 12. So 12 and 2 are both divisible by 2. 12 divided by 2 is
6.
And 2 divided by 2 is
1.
So 6 times 6 is 36 over 1. And it's the same thing because order doesn't matter in multiplication, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you multiply the same numbers, what order you multiply them doesn't matter.
Right.
So today we learned how to multiply and divide with the crossing out trick and how to simplify it through that, right?
Right.
And it makes it way faster and easier. So I hope you learned something from this because I struggled with simplifying fractions too. I thought it was really hard, and this makes it way easier because you deal with smaller numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.